Solving equations and inequalities review. Solve each equation or inequality. Show each step for your work. I put a line down through the equal sign because these have to stay balanced. Both sides have to stay balanced. I want to get my whole numbers together first. So if b is minus 6, I want to get minus 6 over to this side. I want to solve for b and get it all by itself. So if it's a negative 6, to make it 0, you have to add 6 to both sides. That would leave you with 0. B is all by itself, which is what we wanted. Negative 19 plus 6. You know it's going to be a negative because that's the larger number. Find the difference between 19 and 6, and it should be a negative 13. Box your answer so we'll know where it's at. Number 2. Again, I want to get all my whole numbers to one side and get n by itself. So if it's a negative 16, to make it 0 on this side, so n's by itself, I have to add 16 to both sides and keep it balanced. That cross cancels out, n's left by itself. Negative 8 plus 16. Negative 8 plus 16. It's going to be a positive. Number 3, look at the variable and ask yourself what's happening here, because there's no other numbers to get together first. It's dividing. So we do the opposite, which is multiplication. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, be a negative 16 over 1. Okay, so that would cancel out, and you still have n equals. Whatever you do to this side, you have to do to the other side. So 2 times a negative 16. And that will be your answer. Number 4, I want to get negative 9 over here because I want x by itself. And there's a negative 9 here. To make this 0, you have to add 9. You have to do it to both sides. Okay, so your final answer should be negative 26 plus 9. Number 5, same thing. Get your whole numbers together and m by itself. If it's positive, you want to subtract it. Whatever you have to do to make that side 0. So the variable is all by itself. So 13 minus 29. Number 6. Find the variable because there's no other numbers without a variable. Ask yourself, what's it doing? It's multiplying, so you must divide by negative 22. What you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So 418 divided by negative 22. Number 7, we have whole numbers without a variable, so we want to put those together first. If it's a positive 73, we want to subtract 73 from both sides. Leaves you with 8x equals 1 minus 73. That should leave you with negative 72. You still have a variable that has a number on it. We have to get that number off so the variable is by itself. It's multiplying, so we're going to divide. That crosses out, cancels out, so that leaves you with x equals negative 72 divided by 8 will be your answer. Number 8. I have a numbers outside the variable, so I want to get negative 10 over to this side. So I'm going to add 10 to both sides and leave you with negative n3 over 3 equals 10. I want to get negative 3 because this negative sign can go with n or 3. Your variable can never be left as a negative. So the negative, I'm going to take it with my 3. And so we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So it cancels out, and I have n by itself. So what you do to this side, you must do to this side. 10 times negative 3. Number 9. I have a variable and a number together, and I have a number. I need to get this number to the other side. It's a positive. I want to make this 0. What I do to this side, I must do to this side. Negative 9 minus 5 should be negative 14 over negative h over 12. My variable, it's dividing, so I have to get 12 off. I'm going to multiply, and I'm going to take that negative with me. Take this negative and put it on your 12 to get rid of it. This cancels out. You're left with h, so negative 14 times negative 12. Your answer should be positive. 2 negatives make a positive. Number 10. I've got a number, and then I've got a number with a variable. Let's get our whole numbers together. It's a positive 5, so we want to subtract 5 from both sides. Leaves me with a negative 2y equals, you have 7 minus 5 should be 2. You have a variable, it's multiplying with the negative 2, so we do the opposite. Just divide by negative 2. You have y equals 2 divided by negative 2. Number 11, same thing. I want to get my whole numbers together. So I have to subtract 3 from both sides. That gives me 0 on this side. And over here it gives me 4. Bring down my 2x. Divide by 2 because I have to get it off of x. It would be 4 divided by 2. Number 12, same thing. I want my whole numbers together first. Subtract 6 from both sides. 0, bring down 3b equals 12 minus 6 is 6. 3 times b, so you want to divide by 3. So that becomes 1b. 6 divided by 3. Number 13. I want to get my whole numbers together first. So that's a positive 5. Subtract 5 to make it 0. Do it to both sides. That leaves you with 4 equals 4t. T and 4 are multiplying. We must divide to get 4 off of it. And you have 1t. 4 divided by 4. 14. Get your whole numbers together. Negative 1. You're subtracting 1, so you can get 0 over here. Leaves 4a equals 13 minus 1 is 12. A is multiplying 4, so we have to undo it. Do the opposite. That creates an A. 12 divided by 4. 15. I want to get my whole numbers together. So I want to subtract 2, leaves me with 0. Bring down your negative t. 12 minus 2 is 10. But remember earlier I said you cannot have a negative variable. So it's understood that there is a negative 1 here. A negative 1t. So you're going to divide by negative 1 to get that negative off of your t. So 10 divided by negative 1. Number 16. This starts your inequalities. Pretty much what we just did, but just a little different. But again, I want to keep things balanced. So I want to put 12 on this side to get x by itself. If it's a positive 12, I need to subtract 12 from both sides. Remember, we're no longer putting equal signs or inequalities. So a negative 15 plus a negative 12 should give you a negative 27. Now then we're going to have to graph it. So let's just say this is negative 25, negative 26, negative 27, negative 28, negative 29. So you ask yourself, can x be a negative 27? Can x be negative 27? It can't because it's not equal to. It's greater than. So you find negative 27 and you circle it. You do not fill it in because it cannot be a negative 27. It has to be larger than a negative 27. So ask yourself, would you rather pay $25, owe someone $25, or owe them $29? Negative 25 is larger, and we also mentioned in class that if your variable is on the left-hand side, it always works out if your variable is on the left-hand side, you can make your arrow go the direction of the inequality. But make sure you leave it open because it cannot be a negative 27. All right, 17. I want to get my whole numbers together. So to make it 0 over here, I have to add it. What I do to this side, I must do to this side. Pull down your variable, leaves you with n. You have negative 23 plus 18 should give you a negative 5. Always double check my math, guys. So again, you have to make your line down here. And let's just say negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. And n is less than negative 5. My variable is on my right-hand side. So if you want to flip everything, you can do that. If I flipped everything, it would be n. I'm flipping it. So I have to flip this 2 to negative 5. So negative of n is less than negative 5. N is less than negative 5. So now we can graph it. So find negative 5 on your number line, circle it. Can your answer be negative 5? It cannot, so I'm going to leave it open. And because we got our variable on our left-hand side, we can color in the arrow the direction of the inequality. If that confuses you and you want to keep it the original, just when you say it, make sure it's n is less than negative 5. Well, on your number line, which is less than negative 5? Is it negative 4 or negative 6? Remember, the further away from 0 you go, is the smaller the number. Okay, number 18. I don't have any other numbers to get together, so I have to look for my variable, and it's multiplying against 5. So we're going to divide both sides. So P is less than negative 25 over 5. It's going to be a negative 5. And again, make your number line out, circle negative 5, and ask yourself, can P be negative 5? It cannot, because there's not an equal sign under here. It's got to be less than negative 5. Number 19. Again, there's no other whole numbers to get together. So variable, it's multiplying. We have to divide by negative 9 to get it off. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. But since it's a negative and we are dividing by a negative, you flip the sign. Divide by a negative, you flip the sign. So you now have a negative 81 divided by a negative 9. So C is less than 9. Draw it on your number line. 20. Again, there's no other numbers to get together, so we're going to have to take this one off of my y. It's going to leave y. Remember, because we are dividing by a negative, I'm going to stop right now and flip my sign. If not, I'll forget. Divided by negative 7. 21 divided by negative 7 is negative 3. You need to graph it on your number line. Number 21. H divided by 3 is greater than negative 6. Well, since it's dividing, we have to do the opposite and multiply by the reciprocal. Multiply by the reciprocal. So H is greater than negative 6 times 3. Negative 6 times 3. Number 22. We do have whole numbers on the side, so let's get it to the other side. We add 5 to both sides. That becomes 0. Negative 4k is less than or equal to 3 plus 5 is 8. I need to divide by a negative, and since I'm dividing by my negative, I want to stop and flip. So 8 divided by a negative 4 is going to be a negative 2. Now then, we're going to make your number line out. We can just do 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Okay, we're going to go and find negative 2, and I want you to circle it. Can K be negative 2? Because of this line right here, K is greater than or equal to negative 2. So this is the first one, I believe, that we're going to color in, because it can be a negative 2. K is greater than. So since my variable is on the left-hand side, my arrow is going to go this way. But you can also ask, is 0 greater than negative 2? And it is, so you know the arrow is going that way. Okay, 23. I get my whole numbers together. Subtract 17. Leaves you with x over negative 5 because that equals 0. 4 minus 17 and negative 13. I want to change my sign. I want to multiply by the reciprocal. So x is greater than negative 13 times a negative 5. And you need to put it on the number line. $24. I want to get my whole numbers together. So add 27, that's going to be a 0. Add 27, bring this down. 3x is greater than, you're going to have a negative 18 plus a 27. Should leave you with 9. Like I said, always double check my math. You have x. I want to get 3 off of it. It's multiplying, so you need to divide. So x is greater than 3. Make sure you find that on your number line. Number 25, 26, and 27. I'm thinking you just need to, it says write an inequality. I don't know if they just want the answer here or an example, but I can get you started and at least we can do this. So number 25, you have x. Okay, is it going to be greater than 5 or less than 5? Is 6 greater than 5? And that's the way the line's going. My variable's over here. So I can do greater than 5. Can it be 5? Well, there's no line under it, so it can't be 5. It's wide open. So 26, I'm going to put x is less than, because if I have my variable on the left-hand side, my inequality is going to go the direction of the line on the arrow, the arrow on the line. And it's on negative 3, and it's not colored in, so it can't be equal to. It's just x is less than negative 3. 27, x is greater than, it's going to point over here in the direction that the arrow is going on the line, because my variable's on the left, and it's negative 2. Now then, look back. Can it be negative 2? It's colored in, so you put your line under it. And like I said, I'm not sure if this is what he wants or if he wants an equation written out, something like this. So if he wants this, I've given you a start and you can come up with something. If you have any questions, ask them on Google Classroom.